And Shannon, you and I are just down the road from each other.
We are. Okay, so here's what's funny. There are CTI leaders all over the globe, and Eileen and I live at like a 10-minute drive from each other. It's very
15-minute
random.
bike ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful
So
Northern California here in the States on the West Coast.
that's right. In Sonoma,
Yeah.
California. So we want to welcome you. We're happy to have you here. Um, and uh, maybe put a word in the chat about like what's the current state of you, you know? How you doing?
How would you answer that, Shannon?
Well, let's see. Well, I'm going to use a metaphor, which is one of our skills. So it's very hot here today, and I would say I'm heated but rapidly cooling in a very delightful way.
I love it. I feel
What
it.
about you, Eileen?
I'm gonna mirror what Perry said. I'm evolving.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah. And also
Ready for
ready for the next
process?
chapter, as Stephanie said.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. That's great. Open to new opportunities. Great. Love that.
sure do. Exploring new territory.
Yeah,
This feels very fertile to me.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, we'll just go just another maybe
Yeah.
minute and let people in. Harsh, I'm so sorry about that, the power situation. So we will roll with it.
Yeah. Not to worry.
Yeah. Um, anyone else have anything to say in the chat before we officially begin? Looking for new challenges. Good.
Come to the right place.
Exactly. Exactly. We even have a skill called challenging. So no
Oh,
problem.
no worries about leaving a bit early.
You'll still get to see the demonstration.
Yep.
Yay. Exciting.
Exciting. Exciting in all caps. That's
Uh,
really exciting.
plus two exclamations.
Yeah. This is a space where you can just relax, enjoy, learn, evolve. So whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, please do. Please
Yeah,
do.
definitely.
We cannot see you, as it turns out.
Yeah, we can't see you, but we can feel you. And the person who I do the demonstration coaching with, we will be able to see them. So
Yeah.
but we're in webinar function, so unfortunately we can't see your lovely faces. That's why we love that you're connecting with us in the chat.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for participating.
So how about we get it rolling? Here's a little bit about what to expect.
Yeah. Hey, Shannon, before we go there, why don't we introduce ourselves?
Oh, sure.
What do you think?
Okay, sure. Okay. I'm Shannon Kelly. I live in Sonoma, California. I've been working for CTI. I went through my classes for CTI in 2008, and I started teaching for CTI in 2014. I have my own coaching and consulting business. I work with a variety of humans, mostly focused on leadership development and spiritual development. I have a second shift. I live actually at a place called Sonoma Ashram. And so I lead a lot of retreats and other kinds of things here as well, in addition to the work that I do both for myself and for CTI. And so I love this model. I've worked with humans my entire career. To me, the coactive model has been the most robust and fruitful and foolproof. And it's really the basis for all the work that I do with people. And I've just found it to be a very useful model. So I'm excited to share it with you all. How about you, Ed?
Beautiful. Yeah, just a pleasure and privilege to be partnering with you, Shannon. I want to say that up front. I want to say also ditto to much of what you said, certainly about the model and its how it serves me in coaching and in so many other ways. I also live in Sonoma down the road. Those of you who were on a bit earlier heard that. I just want to say, if you've joined us since we started speaking, please feel free to add your name and your location in the chat so that we can welcome you and know you're here. I also have been with CTI for a number of years, a couple of decades. I work now mostly in the certification program, helping folks just really fine-tune their skills and expertise as they progress through the program. My practice is varied. I heard you say you work with humans. I had a client yesterday who's an executive director and just expanded their bereavement policy to include animals. So
Aw.
I feel like I work with animals as well. But primarily I've worked with leaders in nonprofits, mostly senior leaders who are feeling some sense of isolation and a desire for a thought partner to be able to think aloud with some safety and trust. I've also done some work in the public sector, mostly with the US federal government, working abroad in Africa, in Mozambique and in Kenya, and have been just delighted to see, to some extent, the applicability of the model in a global context. That's been very, very satisfying. So I'm delighted that our gathering here today includes folks from all over the globe, or from many places on the globe. And
Yeah,
again, just welcome and hope that you learn a lot and enjoy this time together.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So happy to have you here.
So what to expect, eh?
Yeah, you are going to learn what coaching is.
At least our version of that. And also you'll learn a coaching tool. We want this to be very practical for you to get a sense of CTI's coaching, but also to walk away with something that you can use in your life, beginning now.
That's right. You will witness a live demo. I'm going to do a demonstration coaching in a few minutes. So just a basic coaching that you all can kind of get a taste of what coactive is about.
And from what I know of Shannon's coaching, what I've experienced, you are going to experience several coaching skills. She's going to demonstrate something that I think will be quite instructive for all of us.
Yeah, and then Eileen will lead us in a debrief of some of the skills, some of what you see in the coaching.
Yeah, and then certainly questions will arise, we imagine. So we're going to encourage you to both listen for the skills yourself so you can track them, but also to share any questions that you have that we can answer as this webinar proceeds.
That's
So
right.
that's what to expect.
That's right. If you have questions along the way that you would want answered, you can use the Q&A function that's down on the bottom where your chat, etc. buttons are.
Ah.
So,
And we'll begin, as we often do or always do in anything CTI related, by designing our alliance, which is essentially forming some agreements to create safety and trust and shared expectations of how we'll proceed. And the first agreement we want to, or thing that we want to share with you, is that, as is the case with CTI always, Shannon and I are co-leading. You'll always experience, I think it's always,
yeah,
two co-leaders. And we do that in part just to expand kind of the perspective that you're exposed to, and that there's a dynamic that happens when two people are working together 100 in bringing the material to life. And nothing here is scripted, as you may
yeah,
have already observed.
it's improv.
We're
So
doing our
we do,
best.
we have a few notes sort of to point us in the right direction, but this is part of, I think, why people find our courses so engaging, is that we really, it's an improv, and we create from each other, we create from the material, we create from our audience and our participants. So yeah, for me, that's one of the things that keeps this work fresh, because every coaching session is also not scripted, it's also improv. And so, you never know what's going to happen. Not
Living on
30
the
minutes
edge.
with another person, so.
And because of that, it might be the case that occasionally Shannon and I will speak over each other. We know that's the case, and we'll dance with it. There's a skill called dancing in the moment, this moment, that we'll demonstrate for you in our leadership.
That's right.
It's actually a cornerstone of the model.
Yes. So confidentiality. So normally in our rooms, we, when you're in one of our courses, everyone agrees to hold confidence, hold the material confidentially. The coaching in this webinar will not be confidential because it's going to be a recording that people are able to watch. So just so you know, that is part of the agreement here.
Yeah. And also, in terms of the context is critical in coaching. And soon we're going to ask someone to volunteer to be our client, our coachee. And in so doing, we'll want you to bring a very real topic. There's nothing role playing here. It's real. And the more kind of authentic and vulnerable you can be with your topic, I think the more meaningful demonstration it will be. So, so a real topic is essential.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the International Coach Federation's ICF. We're going to hopefully not throw too many acronyms and jargon at you, but the International Coaching Federation is the accrediting body for coaches worldwide. And so coaching, in their definition, is partnering with individuals in a thought-provoking creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. That is a mouthful. I need to take a breath.
But in your own words, Shannon, what is coaching and what isn't coaching as you think of it?
So let me start with what isn't coaching. Coaching is not telling someone what you think they should do.
Right.
Coaching is not about ticking off the most boxes possible on your to-do list.
Mm.
What else is coaching not to you, Eileen?
Yeah, it's not bringing your expertise as you might as a consultant or another professional, a lawyer, to actually being more of a witness, right? So it's not having all the answers, solving problems, fixing things. It's none of those things. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's really more about being really curious, listening deeply, partnering. I do love that partnering in a thought-provoking creative process. Like that part I really love because it really is a partnership in a way that a lot of other relationships aren't. The power differential that's inherent in a lot of relationships it's flattened a bit here.
yeah. And I like the second part as well, that it inspires folks to bring and to maximize their personal and professional potential. And CTI's version is very consistent with the ICF. It's very much about inspiring insight, but marrying it with action. So you can think of it as kind of an infinity loop of sorts where the coachee will have some great insights and then do something with it. Having done something, come back and kind of figure out what did they learn and what direction does that point them next, and then take additional action. So very iterative in that sense.
Yeah, and another thing I want to say about this piece is that their personal and professional potential, like I don't know if any of you out there have ever been told that you weren't living up to your potential, maybe
Um,
in school or something. So it's really about the person's personal definition
yeah,
of what their potential is. It's really about what does this person deeply want? What do they value? And having them really decide what does success look like, for them. So it's very personalized. We don't come with a template around how, someone's life or workplace should look.
it's one of the joys of the work, I think, that as a coach, our job really is to champion our coachee and to challenge them as well. so that they come up with their own answers, their own vision, their own strength. And
That's
that
right.
we're there to support that, to evoke it, to acknowledge it. Just a joyful position to be in. Yeah.
So, one great place to start a coaching relationship is a simple tool, assessment tool that we call the Wheel of Life.
Aha.
Here it is. So we see this as a way, kind of a snapshot, a starting point for, asking someone like, where are you right now? And so each of the pizza slices or pie pieces, they're a piece of a life. And we ask people to rate the pieces of their life on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 like, ugh, not satisfied, and 10 highly satisfied. And then we go from there.
Yeah, and it's intended really to measure satisfaction or fulfillment, as Shannon said. It's not, no one's trying to prove that they've got everything mastered in their life. Just a tool, a coaching tool, an assessment of sorts to be able to see where you are in important dimensions in your life. And these by no means are all of the dimensions that make up a full life, but they're placeholders you can think of. They're ones that most people relate to as significant things, areas of life. So we're using some familiar ones to you. And
And these
again,
are often ones that people hire coaches to work on, so
like,
um, these are areas that are important. Most of them are important to most people. So,
and what's true here and in coaching in general, um, like personal growth can mean very different things to different people. So part of the use of the tool is to do some definition of what we mean by personal growth, if that's an area you choose to work on. Um, yeah. And you can see that what the tool is filled out in part as a demonstration. You can see, for example, in family and friends, it looks like, by example, someone maybe would have thought that their life is an 8 in that area, whereas in health, maybe it looks like it's a 3, so less satisfying. And by no means do we only want to work on the things that are less satisfying currently. It may be, in the significant other romance area, sure, it's an 8, but you want it to be a 10. So that would be a legitimate area to focus on too.
yeah, so it's really about the client's choice, not the coaches. So as coactive coaches, we don't see this and look for the deficits. It's about what's most compelling you right now. What do you want to focus on? So that's really the name of the game.
I think we should demonstrate it.
I think so too. So I just want to have a quick little design thing because am I, can our back room tell me if I'm choosing someone at random or what's happening? Have we made a decision?
Let's see. At random.
Okay, all right. So here's what I need actually, because I need a client. And so if you are my client, you are in a place that is not very noisy and I'll be able to hear you well and see you well. And you are willing to narrow down to a topic that you are willing to get some real coaching on in front of this real group of people. And you're also agreeing that the coaching will live on in a video that people will watch. So,
So if you're willing or interested, eager to be the client, go ahead and note that in the chat.
or you can raise your Zoom hand.
Or raise your Zoom hand. Let's see. Count. Ah,
Harsh. Okay, Harsh, are you okay, Harsh, didn't you have some, can you talk to Harsh CTI?
yeah, Harsh, it seems there's a chance. There's a chance that your power may go out, as I recall. And it looks like Nadine had a hand up as well. Harsh, would you be willing to step to the side and let Nadine, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, be the client so that we have a smooth demonstration?
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harsh. That's the wrong name. That was very kind. Yeah,
So Nadine, can you turn your camera on?
Yes.
great.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So
Hi.
Nadine, as you know, Shannon's going to be your coach. We're going to go for what, maybe 10, 15 minutes? I'm going to
Ish.
go off camera and I will keep time. And I want to invite all of our other participants, as we said early on, if you observe some skills that you sense are quintessential coaching skills, make a note of them for yourself. And then when we have the chance to do the debrief, we'll ask you to weigh in and share with us what you saw. Okay?
Yeah. Nadine is going to be way more interesting than I will be. The client's always more interesting than the coach, but do look at the skills and the things that you're seeing me doing. That's going to help. And also you can hide non-video participants and then you will only see Nadine and me on the screen. So Nadine, I'm going to pin you. Just get my life in order here. So anything that you want to design with me before we get started?
Sure. It's my first time, so bear with me.
Okay.
And I'm French from Canada. So hi, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. Listen, I just in a bundle. I'm in a position right now where I want to change career. I was let go last year from my job because I was in a position of leadership and um, there was no room for me to grow. So we had an agreement for me to move on. So I went and traveled because I was lucky. I had a good package. And when I was travel, I had an accident. Which left me with 3 broken bones. So that left me a lot of time of thinking and just, reconsider what I wanted to do with my life versus my age as well, and just to see where I wanted to focus. And feel that I'm still growing, which was also important for me. So I had a couple of discussion around with my friends and ex-colleague, and surprisingly, when you discussed animal earlier, right now I have a couple of animals around me. I'm babysitting. I've been always passionate about animals, so I'm developing a website on the side about animals and informing, animal, especially the newcomer. As well,
I want to just pause you for 1 second because I just want to just get a couple things clear so I know that we're headed in the right direction. So I'm hearing that maybe the topic is around career. Is that right?
Right.
And so because we just showed the wheel of life on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being bleh and 10 being perfect, where would you rate yourself right now in career?
I would say 5.
Yeah.
I would say 5 because I have a good package, I mean, background in marketing. I just don't want to do what I used to be doing. So
What do you want to do?
So that's I used to be a senior product manager in food industry, and what I would like to do is bring my knowledge as a coach, maybe. So that's why I'm here. Actually, I was curious. One of my friend actually did the coactive coaching. He did all the courses, was really excited about it. And he said to me, based on my experience, how I was and engaging and all that, he said, I would see you doing that in the next step in your career. And I've been thinking about it in the last few months. And I came on this invitation, so I decided to participate.
Well, I'm so glad you're here and you get a coaching session on your very first time. So, what, you touched on animals a little, and I'm kind of curious about that. But what is it about coaching that feels appealing?
I think it's helping. When I was talking about animals, animals are genuinely they're used to help people in zootherapy, for instance. So I was hesitant in going into zootherapy or coaching. So that's why when you address animals earlier, I'm curious to maybe know a little bit more about this. Yeah, so it's more about helping people grow, and I feel there's such a hunger at all level of organization, because the structure of the organization is well, in Canada, it is the way it's built. It's not really focusing on the person, and it's it's profitability, and it's so busy that our bosses don't really have the tools and also the time to really train or helping their employee to grow. And I know it's becoming more and more focused, but I think that's lacking, and that would be something I would be interested in doing.
Yeah, so I mean, I can hear a lot of the elements of the 5 that you said, the rating of 5. So like where do you want to be on that scale of, 5 to 10? I'm assuming you don't want to go down, but you never know. Like, what's a number that, like, for example, if we were to talk again a year from today, July 24th, 2025, what number would you like to inhabit in career then?
Oh, at least an 8.
At least an 8. All right, so paint a picture for me of what an 8 might include. What would you be doing? Who'd be there?
Oh, that's a good question. I would, because I started a plan, I would have done my digital strategy course, which I'm planning to do in September. And then I would start taking the co-active coach session at the same time, because it's feasible, and work part-time in marketing and communication. And then next year, I would because I think it takes 6 months to complete the course, if I'm not mistaken. So next year I would probably have mentors within the co-active and start, building a business from scratch.
And what excites you about building a business from scratch?
It's so exciting to me. I've been looking for a product, service, to offer and be my own boss. I would say I'm not really a manager, so for me to be able to manage my own time, my own self, and also I work with customers, not necessarily in coaching, but I work with customers for many years in agency and marketing agency, and to go back to that, but to, instead of selling products I don't really believe in, to help them grow. For me, it's so exciting.
Yeah, I can feel it. So put yourself, I know this is kind of weird, but put yourself in the space of, you are at an 8 a year from today. Like, how do you even sit when you're like at an 8 and building your business from the ground up?
I feel confident. I feel a trust in, I don't know if it's too strong, but in the world, because I will be doing something that I actually enjoy. So that's really important to me.
So what do you a year from now, who's feeling this, what do you want to tell you right now?
You can do it.
You can.
You can do it. Just do it. Like, sorry, I'm using
yeah. Oh, you're good.
Just do it. Because seriously, I've been juggling because there's so much uncertainty, right? Because I've been working for big businesses for years, having a security, but I wasn't fulfilled. It's as if I'm selling something, but really I was unfulfilled. And what I'm looking for is is giving back. And truthfully, the accident that I unfortunately, but it was fortunate for me to have gone through that.
So it's
Because
like a turning point.
yeah, and I've had so much support and help
Mhm.
for like not even asking for it. So I'm saying, like, I'm just thinking that a year from now, it's just going to be all right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you noticing as you kind of feel that?
Oh, I feel so good. I feel so good, and I haven't even touched, like, I have the book here.
Yeah.
I just started reading it, but it's just really resonate with me. But I'm totally green, so I don't know what to expect. So at the same time, when I wrote, it's me that wrote in capital excited, because I am. It excites me because it's something to look forward to, and novelty, and learning and growth. So for
I
me,
can hear
appealing.
how important that is for you. Like
It's
you're a lifelong learner, clearly. Like you want to keep growing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So it would not be a coaching session. It would just be a fabulous conversation if I didn't ask you, what's next? Like, what will you do in the next, I don't know, what's a good time period? In the next week, what will you do to start moving that 5 toward that 8?
Excellent question. What I will do is, well, it's going to start tomorrow, because I'm celebrating my friend's birthday tomorrow, which been through the coaching. He doesn't know that I'm doing this right now, so I'm gonna probably show him this video, and he's gonna laugh, and he's gonna be really touched by it. And I'm gonna start reading the book. And because the course is only in September, if I'm not mistaken, starting in Canada. And also I'm gonna be I'm gonna be just writing down I would say what I envision for the next few, like planning a little bit.
Yeah. And which one of those things feels like the most important? Kind of the thing that you must do in the next 7 days.
I would say I need to build on my contact list for the part-time jobs. So I need to build my contact list, because I don't want to work full-time when I'm doing this. I really want to focus, but I still want to have some income. So I'm going to prepare a list of contacts in communication, and want to prepare finalize my CV to send it out for to work not part-time but on contract.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how many hours will you do that in between now and next Wednesday?
Well, because I'm not working,
Mhm.
so I don't have any excuses.
Well, there's always excuses.
Yeah, there are. It's true.
I'm here to rescue you, Nadine.
Don't rescue her, go away. Was that 10
Yeah,
minutes?
that's about time. You want to just wrap?
I'm gonna wrap it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You can wrap it up. So
Well, no. Oh, no.
okay.
We are not wrapping it before we get a little bit of, I will do. How much of this will you do?
I would say, because I still have the animals and all that to take care of, I would say 3 hours per day I want to focus on. That would be realistic for me. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what's one thing, simple thing, that you could do to keep the 8 1 year from today alive?
Simple for me, I need to have a timeline. I work
Okay.
with a timeline. So if I don't put objectives down, I won't do anything. Truthfully, that's not me.
So
I,
will you write down those objectives as soon as you leave this webinar?
yeah,
Yes, no, counter. Yes. Okay, perfect.
I will.
Okay. And another piece of coaching, is there any accountability that you want to design around these actions?
Yes. So I will talk to my friend tomorrow, and he's going to be for sure willing to coach me on this, and I'm going to be accountable to him.
Nadine, thank you so much for just jumping in and going with it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me add my thanks, Nadine. You were courageous to jump in, and I could tell your heart was in it, and you showed up so vulnerably and authentically. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, and it was a master class in coaching, Shannon. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Thank you. We're gonna talk about the coaching now. And if you want to, like, I don't know, throw a little love toward Nadine in the chat, then it's always a nice thing.
Yeah.
She
And
jumped in last minute.
Nadine, feel free to weigh in yourself if you want to participate in the chat. You're more than welcome. Yeah, I'm curious to hear from others what skills they saw, but I want to just name a couple to begin. Right from the outset, it felt like you really established the client's agenda and you held it throughout. And then something very masterful, truly, something very skillful. You gracefully intruded when it was time. You kind of took charge to keep it on track and to make the most of the time we had together. And then there were a series of really powerful questions that you asked right from the outset. And I could tell that there was a trusting dynamic established. So you championed Nadine in order to cement that. You touched on her fulfillment and what was resonant for her. Beautiful, the way you kind of wove through the notion of pets. So just a number of really, really effective skills, I think. I'm curious, Shannon, from your point of view, what was the experience like for you?
Oh, coaching is always so much fun. And Nadine, she just feels like, a ripe piece of fruit ready to fall off the tree. So
looks like there's consensus about that in the chat.
Yes.
People are really, Nadine, commenting on how great your energy is and what an amazing vision of your future, and championing you, already using the coaching skills, saying you can do this.
That's right. I want to just point out too, something that happened in the coaching that is part of what we do. And that is there's an energetic kind of shift when you're talking about what's not going right, what's not working, there's not a lot of creative flow there. It's necessary to talk about that stuff, but we kind of know that Nadine's probably been talking about that, at least with herself, for a while. And so one of the skills that I used was visioning, which was like jump over all the things that you have to do and really work on what does the 8 look like, feel like, experience that. And did you see how easily the advice from her future self, just do it.
I'm curious if others on the call witnessed that, if they saw that happen, see the kind of energetic shift, or in addition to that, what else you did see? What did you notice about some of the skills or tools that Shannon used, or the impact on Nadine and how she showed up? Feel free to, yeah.
Yep, listening. You can put them in the chat, or you can, if you have a question, you can use the Q&A function.
Yeah, and that notion of listening at level 2 and 3, those who aren't familiar with it, like we speak about very kind of active listening at CTI, and that kind of level 3 deep sort of environmental listening, where you're hearing what's being said and not being said, what person is desiring, and maybe where they're limiting themselves, that kind of deep level of listening. Yeah. MetaView, was that Shannon was able to zoom out and take a look a year from now. And Nadine just went right there with her. This is a great intuitive hit, Shannon, that would work. That would be powerful. Yeah.
This is a great question from Alina. I saw how Shannon tapped into the client's positive energy. What would we do if the client comes in only complaining? Well, that's pretty much 100% of clients, because that's what we do as humans. That's how we vent, right? And so if you notice, Nadine wasn't totally in that dreaming creative mode. And so it's the skills like visioning, getting clear about what's important and what she does want versus what she doesn't want. Those are some of the things that I would point to.
I think you also, you demonstrated acknowledgement, and I think that can be a very powerful tool in an instance like that. And we don't mean acknowledgement like where you say, good job. We mean more like really truly seeing the person and perhaps where they're struggling, and to acknowledge that sometimes can just be very liberating to move through it. And sometimes, in what we call our principle of process coaching, we actually explore the negativity and
Sure.
we let the person feel what they're feeling, and with some hope that, that there'll be some insight that comes from that that can be a breakthrough of sorts, or that maybe it will just be healing to be heard in that space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So
Harsh says redirected the conversation. So actually, I don't remember doing that. I remember mentioning it because she had mentioned animals and when I had intruded. I wanted
yeah.
to make sure she knew that I had heard that she had started talking about doing things with animals. But I also wanted to hold the agenda around career. So I was like, which is the thing, so just a
Take us
curious.
behind the curtain a little bit. Like Harsh mentioned that there was blurting and intuition. How do those factor into what's informing your questions or what you're articulating that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think intuition is such a huge part of our model. It is something that we help you develop. Um, we all have intuition and we've kind of turned the dial down on it in favor of other forms of intelligence. So we're all great at thinking and solving problems, and most of us are less great at really listening and noticing. So a lot of what we teach in these courses is around listening and noticing and speaking what you're listening to and noticing. So
What else I sensed that you used, which is kind of quintessential in coactive coaching, is curiosity.
yeah.
Like you asked questions you did not know the answer to. There was no leading or right, wrong. You genuinely asked questions that you thought if Nadine answered would be revealing for herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of coaching, is that it's like the best kept secret of being a really great coach is that it's easy. It's easy. You're curious, you listen, and the client, generally speaking, if you're curious and listen and apply some of the tools, they'll solve their own problems. I mean, she really assigned her own homework, you
Yeah.
know.
But I love that as curious and intuitive as you were also very concrete and practical. I think people noticed that you wanted to be certain there was a next step and there was accountability if that was desired. So there's that blend, that kind of and active that you brought to life in just 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Harsh said, you help Nadine choose a resonant action, and that
Yeah.
does feel important. Yeah.
It is, because otherwise, like I said, it's just a nice conversation, so coaching, we have nice conversations and the ball gets moved forward, right, in the client's life in the way that they want it to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other questions about the coaching itself or
Or anything about
anything CTI?
CTI.
Yeah.
Ask us anything. This is your opportunity. Ask us anything.
Oh, Shannon, I have a question.
I mean, not anything.
And Nadine, I want to honor your participation. If there's anything additional that you want to share in the chat that's kind of washed over you as you're hearing the discussion, any insight or impact that you want to share, feel free, no obligation. Yeah.
Okay, some. All right. Is it always easy? Coaching? I would say, in my experience, when you're really firmly on the coactive model, yes. When you're trying to do something else, when your inner talk is in the way, no.
Great.
But over time with practice, there is a great ease in it.
I agree. I think one of the initial challenges some people can have is kind of we can be hardwired to give advice and to problem solve. And sometimes it can be difficult to resist that. But once you're in the flow, the beautiful thing too is, since you're not expected to be the expert or have the answers, if you get stuck, you can ask your client, where should I go next? Or what's occurring to you in this moment? And
Or even, client, I'm lost, take me
yeah,
somewhere.
it's often the most revealing. Then the client truly is empowered to take charge. Yeah. Um, let's see. What if you're having trouble during a coaching session identifying the topic?
Good question.
It's a really good question.
Yeah, because if you have any experience, sometimes feels like there's nested topics or multiple topics. So, if you're not totally clear, ask.
Ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of unclear. Are we talking about work? Are we talking about so just because part of what even them figuring out what the topic actually is, kind of untangling it a little bit, is very, very helpful and useful for them. Like just the act of doing that can create great insight.
And that could be a best practice as you're in an established coaching relationship with someone, to vest the responsibility in the client to come prepared with a topic. Doesn't have to be, they don't have to if it's not happening naturally. So that can be helpful. And often, I mean, coaching isn't a one-off. Most often it's a relationship, and there are topics that are ongoing. So it's useful to circle back and kind of connect the dots to where you left off last time and see if that topic is still active and vibrant, or find it together otherwise.
Yeah, and again, and one other thing is, I do want to be a proponent for the wheel of life or something like it. Because if you look at that wheel, I mean, there's about 20 topics under each of those categories, at least, So it can be helpful for someone to think about their life in segments, or even their workplace. Like you can do a leadership wheel or something like that, right? So it can just be nice and helpful to have to help the mind focus a bit.
It's also a great tool to zoom out and to say, here's a kind of a snapshot of your life in its entirety. What are you noticing about what's in and out of balance, or the state of your life writ large? Be a good tool for that. Okay, here's another question. I'd be curious to see what tool you'd use if Nadine wasn't sure what she wanted to do or focus on, if she was still searching for her future path. Maya is a teacher. Nadine would be one of those easy students to advise. Advise, what's that?
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, what tool might you have used otherwise, Shannon?
Yeah, I think if somebody's unclear, they may not know what they want, but they definitely know what they don't want, is one place to start. But even more powerful, they know what matters to them. They know what they want, whatever it is, to feel like. So some people are going to want a life or a career full of adventure and challenge, and somebody else is going to want something full of stability and music and connection. And so we do values mining, is what we call it. And we do it in a way that's, I think, pretty darn cool. We don't just hand somebody a list of words and say, what are your top values? Like, have some really powerful ways to uncover them.
Yeah.
And I really think that starting there, helping people get clear about like, what is most important to you? And what does a fulfilling job include? That's a great place to begin the conversation.
You asked a couple of questions like quintessential, what do you want? What is it about coaching that feels appealing? What's exciting you? Those get at that. Yeah. Alina, continuing with her negative mind state, I think, I feel like asking, you seem disappointed. Is that a useful emotion for you? Would that be right, or is it leading?
So I would tweak it a little bit. You seem disappointed. What are you noticing? Or you seem disappointed. And just wait.
And what's the distinction you're drawing there? What's different about that?
Is that a useful emotion for you? Is, first of all, it's a yes/no question. So it is kind of a leading question. it has the person go to their head and assess, is this useful for me? Which is a less useful place in coaching. We want people to be exploring the unknown in a way, or exploring the, some new information. So maybe, really just having them ponder it versus with an open way. I don't know.
Yeah.
How would you describe that, Eileen?
I
Similar?
think that's, yeah, very similar. I think you nailed it. Yeah.
And the other thing, one other thing I want to say is that, if someone says, yeah, I am disappointed. So what we don't do, some other, modalities, ask about the story and the details of the disappointment. And we don't, because they've already said it to themselves or other people many times, maybe for years. And so what we do instead is we actually have them just let themselves feel the disappointment, to actually have a embodied of the moment experience of whatever that pain is, and that usually lifts it, it brings it kind of up and out.
Hey, Shannon, we have about 5 minutes or so. So
Yes,
can
and we have a lot of questions.
can we do some speed questions and answers?
Yes.
I'll fire them at you. I'll add
Okay.
anything. But just quick, a quick reply for the flavor of your answer.
Yeah.
So let's see. What's the difference between coaching and therapy? That's a small question.
Yeah. Very brief answer. There's lots of information on our site. Someone could drop that. I was a therapist and I am a coach. And I would say the biggest difference is therapy is generally focused on getting someone from a below baseline level of functioning to an above baseline level of functioning. There has there has to be a diagnosis, for example, to even bill insurance. So it's a medical model. This is more of a, what do you want to do with yourself sort of model. So there's similarities because there's only so many ways to work with human beings, but.
Right. And is there anything else you might do besides visualization when the client is really stuck?
Yeah. Lots of things. I mean, I want you to answer some of these too, but embodiment, tapping into their inner resources, which is something that we work on, just naming it, you're stuck, and, unsticking, helping them unstick or letting them get conscious of unsticking. So,
yeah. Yeah, and you use the term future self, which is something, that's in the vernacular of coaching, really sensing what their like truest self knows to be true for themselves and creating the space for them to say it out loud, have the boldness and courage to do that. The difference between mentoring and coaching, mentors tend to recite their own experience and give some advice or pointing. One of the founders of CTI was an accountant CPA before coaching. And when I asked her who she coaches, she said, anyone but CPAs. that would be more of a mentoring relationship. Yeah. How do you manage a personality clash with a client? Do you ever meet a client that you don't want to work with, and how did you manage it?
let's think. Let me think.
While you're thinking, for me, it's quite rare because the kind of the cornerstone that we hold for clients is that they're naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And when you engage with a person and try to tap into their resourcefulness, their natural creativity, it just creates kind of a dynamic where you believe in them and you want the best for them, and things that might otherwise interfere suddenly fade. They're relevant, but the nature of the engagement is where we really do hold the person creative and resourceful and try to tap into that.
Yeah, I want to speak to meet a client that didn't want to work with you. So there are definitely situations where you've been assigned a coach, you've been assigned as a coach, or I don't tend to do a lot of that anymore. I like to say I don't like to coach hostages, so, and if there is some of that happening, then really I just give it to them straight. Like, do you want this? First of all, how do we design this so it's useful for you?
Yeah.
What do we, so just sort of being really transparent. And I think, when people realize that I'm not telling them what to do, like I'm really just a sounding board, a space where they can, figure stuff out. There's generally speaking, most people are pretty receptive.
I agree. Hey, there's a practical question here. I wonder if you know the answer. Stephanie is curious about how the courses differ between online and in person, specifically from Singapore.
Mm. Um,
You have a reply to that one?
It's really fun to both are really great. I mean, I was a hard sell, honestly, because I love the in-person, but I was shocked and excited to find that it really translates pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. So the folks backstage have told us that there's a blog post on the difference between coaching and therapy at CTI's site. So go there to coactive.com, resources.
I want to answer this one. This is a fun one. Oh yes.
Please.
What if a client's value is adventure, but they don't know what kind of job can fulfill this value? The coach can ask the client to do some research. Coach, you don't have to figure anything out.
And there are lots of creative ways to have a client explore that, like take their camera out for a week and capture images that compel them, or take note of if they're reading a newspaper, what sections do they go to first? What can't they help themselves from reading? Those kinds of things. And those are all explored in the, in the experience of the training. Yeah.
Okay, we have 2 minutes. Let me just see what's left. What signs tell you that the client really needs a therapist, not a coach? That's a hard one to do in a very brief amount of time, but I would say that if you're sensing red flags, in a sample session, find someone who knows what they're doing to consult with about it. But the other thing is that most people who are functioning in their life are perfectly good coaching clients. You could have a mental illness and still have a coach. You could have, there are many people. I mean, we would be out of business if we couldn't coach people with a mental health diagnosis, for example, or someone who was grieving, or someone, so all of those things are appropriate. If someone is really not functioning, well, or if there's something that scares you or that really feels out of your league, then I would refer them.
Yeah, and Shannon talked about transparency. I might say, gee, that feels like a therapy issue. If you're working with someone, could you explore it there and maybe bring back your insights to us to work with?
Yeah, a lot of people have a therapist and a coach, so very, very common.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're at time.
Yes. Shoot. Sorry that the people who did not get your things answered, I bet you will find it somewhere.
Yeah. And there's a link now in the chat to some other resources. And, we have really fabulous folks on staff if you want to explore more of your questions, and they can speak to the model as well. They're quite well versed in it. So this was intended to be a taste. We hope you got that. And reach out to CTI if you have additional questions.
For sure.
We hope to see you in our courses or in the community at large.
That's right. We will
Yeah.
see you somewhere on the coaching road, we hope. So thank you
Pleasure,
so much.
Shannon. Thank you, everyone, for being here.